Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. This is how we greet each other during our bi-weekly SIG-CLI meetings. And today it's my pleasure to welcome you on the SIG-CLI Open Doors during KubeCon EU Virtual. My name is Maciej, and I'll be your host today. So, what is SIG-CLI and what are our main goals that we take care of? So the most important mission for our special interest group is ensuring that the Kubectl, which is a command line interface to Kubernetes cluster, is working properly, has the necessary features, as well as we are ensuring that all the bugs, all the security problems, and every single issue that the users are reporting to us is being actively worked on. Aside from the Kubectl itself, there's a bunch of other sub-projects that we are looking after. The CLI runtime is a library that provides helpers for writing Kubectl plugins. One example is Simple CLI plugin, which reuses CLI runtime. And of course, Kubectl itself is the primary consumer of the CLI runtime. We have three sub-projects that our special interest group is looking after. One of them is Kustomize, which allows you to customize free, without any templating engine, raw YUM, Kubernetes YUMs, to shape them per your needs per environment. There's also Crew, which is a Kubectl plugin manager. And along with that, there's a Crew index that has all the plugins available for users. And finally, there's a graphical user interface. It's an add-on on top of the Kubectl, which presents the results that the Kubectl does in a more graphical, user-friendlier way. SIG-CLI has 3 persons that are in charge of the SIG. We have 2 technical leads, which are responsible for leading the technical and advancing the technical side of things for our SIG. And that will be myself and Phil Whitrock. On top of that, we have 2 people that are responsible for organizational side of things. And that will be, again, myself and Sean Sullivan this time. I've attached both GitHub handles and as well Slack handles. So if you want to reach out to any of us, feel free to do so in Kubernetes Slack, which I'll be posting links to, as well as through GitHub issues. Our special interest group is meeting bi-weekly on Wednesday. It is 6 p.m. in the European time, which is 12 US Eastern and 9 a.m. US Western time. You can find us on the SIG-CLI Kubernetes Slack channel, and there we also have a Kubernetes-SIG-CLI Google group where we answer all the questions that people might have with regards to any of the projects that I mentioned before. With the main information about the organizational information about our SIG out of the way, let me jump to answering a few of the top asked questions that we are answering throughout the lifetime of our SIG. So the main topic that we are currently working on for probably 2 years now is moving Kubectl to a staging repository. You might be probably wondering what's a staging. So let me show you how the Kubernetes main repository looks like. If you go check out on GitHub page the layout of a Kubernetes main repository, you'll notice that there is a cryptic directory that is called staging. The staging directory contains a set of libraries that are being then published using the Kubernetes publishing bot to separate repositories. The goal of this exercise is to ensure that all the libraries all the sub-packages of the staging directory do not rely on the internal packages from within the main Kubernetes repository. This is needed so that at some point in time, each or hopefully all of those repositories will be eventually split out of the main Kubernetes repository. Kubectl is probably the first one to be extracted out. And the reason that we want to have Kubectl extracted out is that we would like to be able to move faster and release more frequently Kubectl with fixes as well as with new commands to work and improve your experience working with a Kubernetes cluster. So you might think that since Kubectl is already in the staging directory, it is almost outside of the Kubernetes repository and it should be as easy. Well, not quite. Unfortunately, there are two commands, Auth, to be exact, Auth Reconcile, and Convert, that are stopping us from being moved entirely to the staging repository. The Convert command is not a problem, even though it relies on the internal API of the Kubernetes and will not be able to move outside of Kubernetes repository. We decided a couple versions back and we deprecated that command. So it won't be part of a kubectl command anymore. What we will do is we will turn the convert command into a kubectl plugin and will be still built out of the main Kubernetes repository. With Auth Reconcile, the situation is slightly more complicated. Auth Reconcile shares a pretty big chunk of code with the API server. And unfortunately, we cannot copy this code over to kubectl repository because we might be in danger of getting out of the sync with the main pieces of the code from within the Kubernetes repository. Thankfully, within the past couple of weeks, we've managed to agree on creating a shared library for this piece of code. So within the next couple of weeks, we will start moving the shared auth code to that new library. And hopefully, if everything goes well, by the end of this year, we will be able to fully migrate kubectl to the staging repository. The next question that we are being frequently asked is why kubectl is using such an outdated kustomize. We have some probably 1 point something version when currently kustomize is at version 3. So the problem that I just described about the moving to staging repository, the dependencies that we have, this is the reason that we cannot vendor or upgrade to newer version of kustomize. The newer version of kustomize rely on the same libraries that the kubectl depends. Unfortunately, due to how kustomize is being built, we cannot update those dependencies. So there is a work that has to happen on the kubectl side, and this is the move to staging, as well as on the kustomize side. So currently, Jeff Ragan and his team are working hard to progress the necessary bits so that we are able to soon upgrade kustomize within the kubectl. For now, we are encouraging everyone to use the standalone kustomize binary. The next topic that I wanted to cover is how a regular kubectl command looks like. We are being frequently approached by newcomers, people who are interested in contributing to kubectl, to SIG-CLI. And the first question that we need to answer, how does a kubectl command looks like? Of course, what I'm going to describe in a minute is almost ideal situation for a command. And you'll probably notice that some commands do not follow the patterns, but we are on a long journey towards improving all the commands and applying the same patterns to the majority of the commands. So if you look at any of the commands, and I'll show you examples in a bit, you'll notice 4 elements of every command that will repeat throughout the commands. There will usually be a option structure, which will hold all the flags, all the necessary helpers for that particular command to work. For example, annotate command will have annotate options structure. Label command will have label options structure, and so on and so forth. As a company, the structure will be accompanied by 3 or sometimes 2 methods. First of them will be complete. The complete method is responsible for filling in all the necessary bits for the command to work. That will be creating clients necessary for the command to work. It will do additional formatting for arguments that are being passed, and so on and so forth. Then there is the next command, the next method, which is validate. And the validate is optional. It can or it doesn't have to. It will obviously depend on the command. So validate is responsible for ensuring that the structure is properly filled with all the options that are necessary so that the actual command can succeed. Finally, there's the run, and run is where the logic, the meat of the command actually resides. So let me quickly go through an annotate command, which is a perfect example of such a nicely structured command. It's not the shortest one. You will find shorter commands, but I figure out that I'll pick something from the middle of the spectrum, from super easy to super hard commands. So as you see, there is annotate options, and the annotate options has print flags, has functions responsible for printing objects, for recording, as well all the all the flags. So if you type kubectl annotate -- help, you'll notice that all the flags that are here, you can easily map them to particular flags on the command line. And at the bottom, there are a bunch of helper methods such as annotation, resources, a resource builder, and IO streams being injected into the structure. And these are necessary for the annotate command to work properly. So usually we try to create a new annotate options or new your command options method, which is responsible for returning a properly defaulted annotate options structure. And you'll notice the same pattern being applied to the majority of the commands. It's very useful when you try to embed one command in the other one. And a perfect example of that one is the wait command, and I'll leave that one to you to investigate on your own. When we create each command, we inject all those bits, we wire the flags with necessary structure options, and we build the Cobra command, and Cobra is the library for building Golang CLIs, and we are heavily using that. So let's go through the main 3 methods that I mentioned at the beginning. The complete, as you see here, the complete method is responsible for creating the clients here, dynamic and discovery clients. It is responsible for wiring and properly reading the record flags, for creating the printers, and as well as reading the information about the dry run flag. Next one is the validate method. The validate, as I mentioned before, is ensuring that there are no conflicting flags passed together, or in case of a local, it is verifying the file names. In case of a dry run, it verifies that the proper values are being passed. It is ensuring that enough amount of annotation is being passed. It is validating the annotation values themselves. And upon an error, it obviously returns an error to the user. Finally, there is a run. And here, run is using a resource builder. And resource builder is part of the CLI runtime library that I've mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, which allows to either read files from your local directory, or it allows you to easily work with the resources that are present on the server. Here, we are properly wiring all the flags to the builder, and then we are invoking something that is called a visitor. So for each of the resources returned from the builder, from the resource builder, we are applying the annotation that the user passed to us. So with this, I hope that you'll have at least a little bit of experience how a properly shaped kubectl command looks like, and this will help you to submit your first pull request to Kubernetes repository, specifically to kubectl itself. There are a couple issues that are very good, or that are long journey issues that I pointed here. And the two are, first one is removing generators from kubectl create commands. And if you're interested in working on that, the issue that I'm pointing here has links to the current work that has been done and all the necessary work that needs to happen in the next couple of weeks or even months. Also, Zoe and Ariel are responsible for that particular work. So it would be good to sync with these two if you're interested in helping with this work. The next one is something that I was presenting just recently on one of our SIG-CLI meetings, and it requires to be able to work with local. We have a code in kubectl that is being deprecated for quite a while. We would like to be able to remove it, but unfortunately, upon removal, that piece of code, the local flag stops working. All the details are in the issue, and we are working with someone, and we are looking for someone that is interested in pursuing that particular issue. There will be more bugs, more first-time issues good for new contributors, as well as those that are interested in helping with SIG-CLI, that we will be posting on our mailing list. I'm hoping to create some kind of a spreadsheet with contacts and links to those particular issues. So if you're interested in, make sure to subscribe to Kubernetes SIG-CLI Google group and watch out for an email from me. Additionally, every 4 weeks on Wednesday at the same time that I mentioned our main SIG-CLI meeting is, which is 6 p.m. Central European Time, or noon US Eastern, or 9 a.m. US Western. We are meeting and we are going through all the pull requests as well as bugs, and we are either helping to assign them to particular reviewers, or we are closing with explanation whether it is working or it is working as a design or it should be fixed. During that bug scrub, everyone can pick up bugs that they want to work on. And the next meeting will be happening on August 19th. So you are more than welcome to join that meeting. I would like to close my presentation with Again, the dates for when we are meeting, where to find us on the Kubernetes SIG-CLI Slack channel, as well as the email group. I'm hoping to see you on one of our next SIG meetings. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. You can either Slack me or find me on GitHub, although I prefer Slack. It's faster to get me there. And thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of the KubeCon. Welcome, everyone. There was one question in the chat that I've already answered. Jeff Knurek was asking about sig.kates.io alias. And to shortly build on top of that, the aliases that you'll notice within the Kubernetes repositories, such as kates.io, SIG-kates.io, the majority of them are used for Go packages. So sig.kates.io actually is being directed to github.com/kubernetes-6, and this is where you find all the repositories, such as Kustomize or CLI runtime that we mentioned. Whereas the main kates.io is pointing to the main Kubernetes repository. There is also a typo in the presentation. Probably there should be 6, that's kates.io, as well as there was a typo with regards to crew index and not KEW-index. Does anyone have any other questions? Okay, I'm not seeing any questions being asked directly. I'll be definitely available on Slack for the next at least an hour or even more. So feel free to ping me. Nancy created a thread for this particular session, so I'm there, or you can directly ping me on this CNCF Slack channel, and I can answer all your questions with regards to SIG-CLI, Kubectl, and the sub-project that I was talking about a minute ago. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the KubeCon.